Okay. Well, if we just... Hold on, dog on the keyboard. Right. I know you think you're a cat, but stop, please. Thank you. I'm trying to be so professional, but my dog is on my desk.
What kind of dog is it?
He's a Jack Russell. Well, it looks like we're just starting off with us lot, so we'll get started, and then if anybody else joins through the way. So, here we go. If you just want to start us off, Bill, just introduce yourself.
Well,
just very basic. It doesn't have to be anything complicated.
yeah. Well, I go by Berl in this context. I'm in my late 20s, Midwestern American. I've been doing this for building this city for about 8 years.
Is that how long you've been doing Lego, or is that just...
No, I played with it as a child, so I had some previous familiarity with it in the early to mid 2000s. But when I went into high school in 2009, I basically late 2008 2009 I stopped doing the city stuff, and for some reason I have a bunch of sets from the architecture sets, but I don't know how. I don't remember how that happened, but I basically stopped with the custom, and I built some sets, but I was basically went into a dark age in between like 2009 and 2014.
Yeah. But you got started with, like, was it other people that gave you sets, or...
Yeah, I think it was my dad. I really liked the Orient Expedition and the Explorer sets as a kid. We have the first UCS Star Destroyer and broken in a box, in the original box in the basement. It's been a part of my life to some degree for 20 years.
So
I have a recollection of early 2000s Lego.
So you have quite the legacy you've got developing then. That's
almost nothing from that era is intact. Very little of the early 2000s Lego was intact. There's evidence that things like that blue train, that train with all the blue glass, I had that, but it's not.
It's not what it was.
It basically disappeared.
Oh dear. Well, it's certainly the memories for sure that are worth more than the price of the... I know that's a controversial because everybody's got their own opinions on, but I think if you even have the memories of Lego sets as a child, that's worth more than the set to me.
You can't put a price on a memory.
No, absolutely not. So you've been building for significantly a large part of your lifetime.
I guess you could say that.
So with your... I know it's mainly your city that you've been developing and changing and tweaking and just working on mainly. But is there anything specific, a theme that stands out to you at all?
Well, I really like the Star Wars Ultimate Collector Series sets. My dad does Technic. We basically focus on the big high piece count adult focused sets. The more expensive, higher piece count, more detailed, the better.
Oh yeah. So is that something that like you both get a set, or do you do one between you?
No, we don't usually share them. He does. I don't really do Technic. He's done.
Got you.
He knows way more. He does way more Technic. I've never done a large Technic.
Yeah, no, I don't
really
get that. That's understandable. But that is something that the both of you can sort of bond over.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's awesome.
We like the movie sets, like the Jurassic Park thing. He built the Nintendo thing recently.
Yeah. So it's a little family unit of Lego. That's pretty cool. So with you building your city for as long as you have, do you have a favorite piece?
You mean like brick, or like a piece of work that I'm.
Based on your experience, we'll actually split that into two. Your favorite Lego brick, the type that you've worked with the most or that you love because it's quirky, and your favorite piece of Lego set that you've created into your building.
Probably the most useful piece I've encountered, anything on the snot brick. There was a post in the city channel with all the item numbers for the snot bricks from a couple of days ago. So you can check that, plug those numbers into Bricklink or whatever, wherever, and it'll bring up the list of the snot bricks. But I'm really liking the round tile with 2 holes in it. That piece is really useful right now. Glass panels are good.
So it's mainly the pieces that really not quite unique, but they stand out in the collection.
It's their usefulness. There's incredibly strange pieces like those flower pieces and stuff like that, but the utility of a flower is very little, at least to me.
Yeah.
Maybe if I built alien landscapes or something, that would be more useful. But
that would certainly be interesting for sure.
That hasn't piqued my interest yet.
Maybe one day. Who says it? The future's open for
I want to do like a World of Warcraft mock, but I haven't. And I've been thinking about this for years, but I haven't been able to marry the two effectively.
What would you be looking to do for World of Warcraft?
That's the problem. It's
too much.
Every 2 years they put out an expansion, and the material just gets bigger and bigger.
Would you say there's something like? Would you say it's something?
Maybe a cat. Maybe the Ice Crown Citadel. Maybe something pretty iconic. But
now that's options.
Did you play that?
I do play it. Yes. So that is one conversation we can get into much later on, because that is I am ready to dive into that pit, World of Warcraft for sure. But we're here to talk about your city.
Yeah.
So say, was it 2008? You said that you started building.
No, the current city began in earnest in like 8 years ago, 2014.
2014. So was there a first gen city, or is?
Yeah, there's a little evidence of that. If you look at if you look at the photos, you'll see in the city channel there's a yellow building with a white and yellow building with white glass. That's one of the oldest buildings. It was based loosely on the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas, which we stayed at around that time. It was the first large building.
Wow.
I'm kind of amazed. I knew. I think the bottom floor got updated. I had like an awning added, or I think the interior's been redone, but it's a little dated on the interior. The unitary table, it's built on, I think it's 180 square feet.
Wow,
I don't know what that is.
Like that is large. That is just that's about the size of a standard classroom ish. Like that is huge.
Those are some small classrooms.
My memory did Don't just. I was such a small child. My memory's probably distorted of all the classrooms I've ever been in. Oh, blimey. But yes, 180 square feet. That is some amount of space. And you say that the interiors for all the buildings as well, or is it there only certain ones?
It's a case by case basis. Some buildings have completely tiled interiors, full interior, completely, top of the line. Some buildings are completely empty. Some buildings have like first generation interior with like just studs, exposed studs on the floor, and bad furniture. There's no consistent.
It's literally just that moment in time that you've taken to build it. That is what is in there, and if you return to it sometime later in the future.
Well, if you look at the first photo, there's a tan building with a slanted gray roof, which is one of the very few buildings with a roof like that, with an interior, but it was later converted into added interior.
Yeah.
And became a casino and hotel.
And that is the one sort of in the center.
You see the giant orange one?
Yes.
If you look at the giant orange one, it's to the right of the giant orange one. That's not the modular.
Wow. Yes, I see that.
I think that tan building is my magnum opus, the best thing I've done.
You'd say so. Oh.
It's fortunately I'm at my photography is leave something to be desired.
That is not a problem because holy wow, there's a lot to photograph just in general. But
self promotion isn't really my strong suit. I would need somebody to do the social media and all that stuff.
Yeah, you're just there to enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, I don't really adhere to what I do what I want. I don't listen to what other people. It's not like I have a Twitter or YouTube where people are saying, "Oh, you should do X, Y, and Z." No.
Yeah, and it's like for getting the intention across, we don't need photography skills. The fact that you have your city in frame, that is perfect. That is spot on. Photography on point.
No, if you had less, you would if you had those small things, it would probably matter a bit more. But the
absolutely. And with just like I cannot put it into words. Just how massive your city is. Like some people have got towns, or like yours is bordering onto country. In my opinion, it is.
Well, it does have a military, so I do consider it a bit of a city-state.
Like that. Honestly, I will never be able to put it into words just how magnificent.
Well, so you look at people like maybe you look at like Brixie. He basically, I think he's more of a personality than a builder. He doesn't really have much skill. He relies on rebrickable, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But the detail, it takes, the latest building, it took, 2 months to do, but 45% of that were like 40. I spent 45 days waiting for an order to come from Lego, which, that's a big, highly unpleasant.
Yeah, I can imagine 45 days, especially when you want to, you've got a project and get working on it and planning and getting.
Yeah, I was held up waiting for 2x2 corner plates. So it was just literally I got hamstrung by a plate
as well. Oh, Lego. Oh, such fantastic.
I don't know why it takes so long. It's a capitalist wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
Don't let the smileys fool you.
Lego will do Lego things.
They make oil majors look nice. But
so just from the you have so much crammed into it. Is it just like, okay, do you have an image that you want it to look like? Or do you literally go, right, I have this little corner, I want something to go there. And then do you spend that day working something out? Or is it instant for you? Or do you have like a little project book that's detailed, right? This is my to-do list.
There's not really a master plan. There's more like there's a set of guidelines. Like buildings, if you look at the modular building, their sides have no detail. It's very uncommon for the sides to have detail, so they can be flush. So you can get maximum, space. Cram them into the same amount of space, and I don't really adhere to that standard. I have all my all sides generally have detail on them. So there's very strict easement requirements that each building should have at least 4 studs, 6 studs, 8 studs of breathing room between them. So they don't, if you have 2 decorated windows, you don't want them, flushed up against each other. Otherwise, it's just like.
Yeah, you want the depth and dimension to it.
Sorry. You don't want especially if there's detail, it'll start colliding, and you don't want that.
Yeah, you want it to flow as a city would. You don't want it all cramped up into.
No,
everybody's breathing on everybody else.
There was a plan for a train, but that got derailed. I don't really like trains.
Yeah.
I was sometime in, I don't know, 2012. We were coming back from a dinner, and we ran. There was a segment of a train yard that was like eight lanes of train, and we kind of did something a little dangerous and ran it because it's a freight train. So I kind of don't really like trains. I'm much more of an airplane person.
Yeah.
Although I probably got over that, but I just use that as a justification to not like trains.
Well, just because it's like you tried it once and it's like, no, I can't get on with this. This is not for me.
It's a massive, space sink.
Yeah.
And at this point, I eventually I did a lot of thinking about it over the last 2 months, and it was determined that the benefit wasn't there. I'm pretty behind in my my train building, and I just didn't want to start a whole new thing from scratch, because
perfectly understandable. Yeah, everybody works.
I do want to bring back the airport, but that I need to move some shelves and maybe get some new move some stuff around and get some new furniture. But the airport, hopefully I can bring that back. But
do you do everything scale? 'Cause like looking at the image,
I have no sense of scale.
So it's literally just your city will be as big as it gets by the time you decide.
Well,
right? Okay.
If you mean like, the cars are supposed to be, whatever they're one stud equals one foot or whatever you want it to be. I don't really pay attention to that.
Yeah.
I have all kinds of cars. My cars range from, I have the little 4 wide, little cars, to I have main battle tanks that are, I don't know, 12, 14 studs wide.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of vehicle sizes. I don't really, and the buildings, I can't. The scale is what it is. I don't know how to quantify it.
Yeah, it's literally your city. There's no hard and fast rules to it. It's just you like that one particular thing that fits with your city.
It goes by what looks good. It's all about what looks good.
That's perfectly understandable because, as I said, everybody builds Lego differently. And at the end of the day, as long as it looks like a car, or it looks like a horse and cart, or it looks like an abandoned old bank that's somehow being repurposed, whatever story you want to create, that's your Lego. That's your story that you want to tell. And it's like, who's to say that Lego has set idealisms? Like they've got a set that they've manufactured, but then you have mocks, and it's like, why can't people do what they want? Why can't people create their own stories? It's like those people out there in the world who said Lego has to be a certain way has never seen your city, because it's massive, it is beautiful, it is colorful.
I think that Alex Noon's channel has a bigger city, but that one's he has mostly sets he has like 40, 30-year-old sets. It's a big city, but it's not the biggest one I know of.
Do you take inspiration from Lego city builders that are on social media? Like, I'm assuming some YouTubers will have full walkthroughs of what they've built. Like, do you take any inspiration, or do you just see it?
Early on, I thought Jengbricks was kind of the aspiration. I thought he was really amazing. But lately, he barely touched the city.
Yeah.
And I think I've transcended him. So I do look. I tease out nuggets here and there. I'll look for some people on Instagram or things like that. But most of the big YouTube channels, there's always nuggets. But I don't know of any channel that has this density of this variety, this density, and this quality of skyscrapers and scale. It's very, maybe Bevan's Bricks. He probably is closest.
But it's essentially that you see these and it's like, okay, this is what everybody else is making. That looks cool, but generally, it what sits with you that says, okay, I actually do feel like this is good. I'm going to make it.
If you look at the Stewart building, that building was. I wanted to do Art Deco because I didn't see anybody that did. To my recollection, there was nobody that did Art Deco, and so I went and did an Art Deco building.
That's brilliant.
Or that blue building, which is based on the presidential palace of Ukraine. That I hadn't seen anybody that did a Baroque building, which is a style of European architecture from, I don't know, like 300 years ago. So
that is really cool. That is really
some
cool.
of the I've done a lot of research into different styles of building. It's it can take many hours to develop some of these concepts.
But that is where your interest for city building lies.
I wish I could do better cars. They're
get a few more cars.
The buildings are so nice, but the cars are kind of mostly just he's building. But that's the same division of time.
Yeah. No, that is really cool. Because everybody builds different. Everybody sees Lego differently. There's Chopper in chat says Alex Noon's city is huge and pretty charming. And then I'm sorry, Chopper, I cannot pronounce that name. But he says my favorite Lego city is Steinerston. I apologize, I've butchered that.
Where is this chat channel?
It's the TB chat just above the podcast.
Oh. Offstein? I'm not familiar with that one.
It's certainly there in text. I apologize for butchering it. I can't pronounce it. But It is very literally that City is one of the biggest themes for Lego, just because he's got so much open doors for creativity. So that there's people who do huge and try and get scenic routes. There's yourself who tries to go for the architecture and does it wonderfully. And it is such a massive scale that it outclasses any of the others. And I think that includes Star Wars, to be fair. Just because the creativity with it is unlimited.
No, I would say that people, at least to me, the people that build, 20,000 piece Mon Calamari cruisers or Star Destroyers, there's a level of technical and technic proficiency that I haven't developed. It's very difficult. Like these buildings, they look very complicated, but really they're actually very simple. It's studs on top of studs, maybe some snot work, but they're very simple. It's mostly the artistry that differentiates them. There's very little technic. There's I use technic for accents because you can get nice modern curves, but they're very simple. Structurally, the concepts really, it's a very simple thing. There's a lot of detail, but it's not hard to build. Well, whereas designing it, I think there was some like beyond the brick, like think of a Mon Calamari cruiser that's a very bulbous, oval thing, and I don't, trying to get those kinds of curves is really hard.
And from my point of view, being out of the Dark Ages myself, being fairly new to just how much growth Lego has seen, it's like, to me, if you are creating something off the top of your head to be something, that is a level of skill that is like, if I've got instructions to follow, I will do it. But to create it offhand just because I've got the pieces and that's what we feel like, that is significantly, like, that is such a difference.
It's very hard.
But it's like, again, everybody builds differently, and it's like, if people see art in a project, why can't everybody else enjoy it? And it's like, it's just looking at yours and then thinking about what possible techniques you could have used, or where you might have seen, I don't know, a specific kind of base plate, maybe, that thinks, oh, I can use this. Like the creativity itself, to build something out of the instructions, off the beaten path, is amazing to me. It's absolutely amazing, because give me technique and give me some time and I can do it. But to freehand create, that is spectacular. But again, perspectives, everybody builds differently. It is just a wonder. It's a massive world. It is awesome. It is incredible. We love it. I did want to ask, though, just for how massive your city is, just as it is, without adding any extras or anything like that. How have you not run out of ideas yet?
Well, there's a lot of buildings out there in the world. There's a lot of architectural styles. There's a lot of variety. New buildings get built every day. I happen to live within a fairly close radius of the actual Home Alone house.
Oh, wow.
So
in terms of like you said about the military, you said about the airport, like you've built so many different individual buildings.
After I redo my hospital, I'm gonna work on a regular port for ships. That's something I've usually had a port, but I'm gonna probably do some research into that and come up with something a little bit better than what previously existed.
So you are literally willing to tackle anything as long as it sits inside of you to say, oh, I've got a bit of inspiration for this.
I'm gonna look at. I know Jeng did a pretty good port. I'm gonna probably look at that. But ports are interesting because they're more. There's a lot of flexibility in the sizes of boats. I have the container ship from the really big one from like the late 2000s. Although the stickers are peeling and it's kind of dirty. But you also have really those little small Zodiacs. So there's a wide variety of ship sizes, whereas airplanes take a lot of space no matter what.
Yeah. So so your city right now is built on just like a rectangle desk?
It's two rectangles. It's loosely a T shape.
Loosely a T shape.
Very fat horizontal bar and a narrow stalk. I think the stalk is like 5.
Yeah, it looks like a T if you squint. So with that sort of shape, like, do you build your city with like, I know you have the spacing and everything for it, but do you plan like for the transition into expansions?
Building reshuffle was planned in Microsoft Excel. I broke it down into 16 by 16 scud squares because that number goes into both 32, 48, and 16. Gives maximum level of what is it, like common multiples or whatever. Those math terms are not good at.
Maths. It's maths.
But before that, no, I hadn't done. It was kind of there's, like I said, there's not a master plan. There's just
every new day has.
I wouldn't say every day. It's typically ruminating and thinking about it for long periods of time, and then eventually, once there's a sufficient impetus to act, I act. It took very, very long to come up with where we're at right now.
That makes a lot of sense, because you wouldn't want to just pick something up and then move it and then have to move it back.
They're very heavy. The biggest building, I think, is 40 pounds.
Excuse me?
40 pounds. That's probably 25,000 pieces. Maybe more.
Wow! Wow! And I'm assuming like.
Well, it's bigger than a small child.
Can you imagine? Like that is massive.
Yeah, it's. I exhibit at I'm exhibiting a second convention. Coming up, and well, let's just say it's never leaving where it is.
Oh wow!
It's very big, but it's also, for being so big, there's some structural integrity issues.
So as long as it's on flat ground, it's.
Well, it's 96 studs wide, so it droops.
Wow! So that is massive. Like, wow. Okay, because looking at the images, you just think, oh yeah, like just steady the top. That's fine. Just pick it up like a slice of cake. It's fine.
But they're all built modularly, like the modular sets. They all open and have plate floors. They're not hollow columns. They all have the potential for interior. They're designed with the intent for interior.
You literally have a city that just keeps on giving. Like, you really do, because I know that I can't name names because I can't remember, but I do know that I have seen some cities that are literally just facades, that they're just the shells of the buildings. Like there's nothing really going off inside them.
I know that AFOL TV takes that approach. I think he might do that to get the cost down, and it also if you do that, you might be able to pull off different things than if you build to a modular. It's easier to do certain styles if you do that without the plates, making the plate floors.
Yeah, that's perfectly understandable.
Plates are really get really expensive real quick.
I can imagine, and especially if you want to do little things with it. And it's like with yours, it's like they open further, so it is literally like a cake. You slice it, and
there's probably several hundred 16 by 16 plates in there in the buildings.
That is a lot of stock. That like it. The more I look at it, the more I see, and it is a gift that keeps on giving. The big question is this your project, or do you have
completely mine?
So it's only ever your hands that's created something. It's only
I've touched. Yes, I'm the only person that's touched it. There's been the people that see it in. There's very few people who see it in the flesh.
So it's a well guarded project. Wow. So when you say that you move buildings to relay the city, do you lift or do you have to get somebody else to assist?
I can. Usually I can do it most of myself. When I moved that giant 40-pound building, that thing is on a 96 by 96 segment, so I had to have my dad help me move it like half a foot.
But otherwise, it is yours alone. Nobody else can touch it. That is pretty. I'm lost for words. That is just. It is a gift that keeps on giving. And on that note, we'll open it to members' questions, because I do know we have quite a few of we're going. So, Mikey has asked, what inspired you to make that large of a city? So
it's sort of an organic process. The original city, as it began 8 years ago, was on IKEA. Those Lindman Adele's IKEA tables, and I'll tell you, those things are complete crap.
If it did the job, it was worth every penny for as long as
it did. It did for a while.
Yeah. So did you start? Like, I'm assuming that at some point you realized this is now massive.
Well, the problem with them was they weren't even, and so the sizing was inconsistent with the base plates. So eventually, this custom table was designed and built, which took many months. And I do not have woodworking skills. A carpenter type designed it or built it.
So that is a bespoke desk that you're
yes
on. That is
cool. The table is completely bespoke, is one of a kind. A lot of people have one of a kind tables, but most of them are made out of raw plywood from the Home Depot. But when it was made out, I did see the 8x16 plywoods, but there's a veneer, and it's much nicer than the average fare.
Yeah, I can imagine, because that is definitely a setup for sure. But it's just, at what point do you think, okay, I've started off on this little city, and then you blink and you've got 108.
You get Adam Savage is a big. I'm a big fan of Adam Savage, and he basically says, as you get more serious about something, your budget and your level of proficiency, get better, and you need better tools. And one of the biggest tools that is obviously the table. The table in this case is probably the tool because it kind of holds everything. Although the main tool you use is your hand. I do use tweezers and brushes for fine, arranging small parts and occasionally cleaning.
Yeah, and it's like your hands are your paintbrushes, but the table is quite literally holding everything up. Like, I'm assuming that 100 square foot with as much interior detail as there can possibly be to date, that's going to create some weight, just alone.
I'm sure they accounted for that when they designed it. At least I hope so. Basically there's cabinets that are probably 2 feet deep.
Yeah, they're bracing the weight out of it. That is pretty damn cool, for sure. Absolutely. So, next question, and this one I'm gonna hazard a guess that you don't actually know, but King of Classic Space asked, how many figures do you think are in your city?
I actually, since I did the reorganization, I put a bunch of minifigures, all the minifigures that were on the sidewalks, into a bucket, and I counted the bucket.
Oh, wow.
And I think the bucket had 150 in it. And then I went around and I counted up to 320, and then I stopped counting. I know there was a couple hundred in the military, so I say there's at least probably 600.
Like, just as a ballpark figure, we're saying
600. Yeah, at least probably 600.
How do you choose the minifigures, or is it just like, oh?
It's what comes with sets. Usually there's some custom, but I just keep it pretty plain. I don't consider myself a collector or anything like that. I'm not that. Most of the creativity goes into the buildings. The quote unquote Lego's big push for storytelling.
Yeah.
It falls flat on me.
Yeah. So
I haven't gotten. It's a city, people, do what they do. It's.
Yeah, and it's
like going to a. Is that the story? I don't know.
So it's like some people will display their sets, but you think, actually, I have a city that could use you, and just display everything through the city. That is pretty damn cool. Like, but
a lot of people, think the modulars are the height of, the set, and they're true, but there's people that do custom buildings that are, quite, the modulars are a stepping stone. I'll say probably the most influential modular was the diner from 2018. That building they mounted windows using studs on side technique, and that I've taken that technique and I've applied it to probably at least five buildings since then. It was very it was a seminal moment in when I started mounting windows sideways.
Right. That is. I'm not quite familiar with that one, to be honest, but I know which set you're on about. It's like Lego made those themselves. And it's like, okay, the modulars for Lego are possibly the biggest.
It's definitely some of their best work.
Yeah, but then on the grand scale of things, their argument kind of falls flat in my opinion.
Yeah, their buildings compared to what custom creators do are
exactly.
Leave something to be desired.
So yeah, and it's just. But again, it's Lego. At the end of the day, it's Lego. Everybody.
It's a very flexible system. Once you buy the set, you don't have to use it if it's a. I don't know, a snow speeder. You don't have to use it as a snow speeder. You can take it apart and build whatever you want. There's no,
it's like
there's no law or anything that says, oh, you have to use it for its intended purpose.
Exactly. And I know that there are many of our own members in server who will take a set, they will build it. They will take a picture or a video, and they'll say, "Oh, look, I built this," and then promptly dismantle it and put it into stock, like their storage boxes. And
I typically don't do that. I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of space, but to me, if I'm going to build a set, it still represents a significant time because typically they're large sets, and if I'm building, say, like the white Porsche creator expert stack, this is something that the parts in that aren't that conducive to city building, so it's not really worth the time to disassemble.
Everybody sees Lego differently, and it is literally the it's like a what they called scrapbook. I was about to say sketchbook, and it's like that's not the word. Scrapbook, and it is literally what you can see is not your only possibility, and it's magnificent. It's like that's why Lego has been going for so long, because the ideas are just unlimited. So it's pretty cool because, I mean, look at what you have created. Just, yes, okay, it's taken years to get even to this point. But the fact
that it has.
The fact that you've seen Lego and gone, I can work with that is magnificent. That it's a staple, and it's just, we know that you've got so many projects, like ideas, for it, to add to it, to change it, keep it going. And it's like, we'd love to see how you're getting on with it, because the dedication we see in the images alone, like not just from you talking about it to us now, just looking at the images, that is a lot of time, a lot of care, and a lot of dedication. It's a passion project. It's an actual passion.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't make any money off of it. The total reach is fairly small.
Yeah.
If I had talent for self promotion, all that social media things, it probably would be things would be different. But but becoming beholden to an algorithm, and I'm not going to start reviewing sets. And I don't think my personality is that conducive to YouTube channels in the way that Jang or Brixie may be.
Yeah, it's more of the friend passion project rather than a big energy.
I would say that's putting it nicely.
So is it something you just keep guarded, or is it just you don't see an interest in trying to create a social media with it?
I don't want to be beholden to algorithms, and I'm kind of a prickly individual.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, and it's just, there's so much that you've created in this. It's like, I suppose in the future something might change and you could think, but the fact that you yourself have just gone, nope, I can do this. I've got.
I'm a very lucky individual. I know that, and I realize that every day. Very lucky to be able to do this.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Oh, it's so lovely. How long do you think you might go with the city? Is this like to the end of the line kind of thing? I don't know. Or?
I can't answer that.
You are literally just flying with the wind.
I can't answer that question. I don't have an answer for that.
No, that's perfect. Well, we look forward to seeing every little tiny thing you change about that city, because, as I said, it is a gift that keeps on giving. Like, I can't get over it. I love it so much. We appreciate you sharing your city with us in the Brick Network. We appreciate your time with us on the podcast as well, Berl. So if there's no last minute questions from the members, I believe we can let you go. Nope, no more questions, anybody? Okay, fantastic. You've been an absolute fantastic guest. Thank you ever so much for your time, Berl. Thank you, everybody, for listening and spending some time with us. And I will let you get on with your day. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
You're very much. Goodbye.
Bye.